Okay, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, the band that I'm interviewing is a band that more or less contacted me, which is different because I'm usually the one chasing them. But I'm glad they did because I really enjoy their music. They've got a couple EPs out that I checked out on Spotify. They've got a really killer video that they made at the Token Lounge in Westland. The band that I'm referring to all over the shop. And my guest today is Todd Wicks. How you doing today, brother?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for responding to my chasing you down.
Well, I'm glad you did. Like I said, I really dig the music that you guys play. Anyway, let's start out with a little background. Where are you from, and how did you get into music?
Well, three-piece. Our drummer is my brother, my younger brother Joel. So he and I, obviously grew up together. We grew up in Rochester. Funnily enough, didn't really play music together till maybe post-college when we really started playing around town and trying to get into the scene a little bit. So, we were just big music fans growing up, and, he's actually a real musician, he played in band in school and the marching band and stuff, and is a, legitimately talented drummer, and I got into, guitar and playing bass. I played bass in all over the shop a little bit later. I was just more of a fan of music in general, so, and I got into songwriting, a little bit later, in college, I would say. So then, I met Brandon, our guitar player, through a, much missed Metro Times Musicians Wanted ad. I don't know if you remember those classifieds. Yeah. I'm sure millions of musical relationships were formed out of that. Yeah, crazy, just happenstance, and that was, almost 20 years ago. So Brandon and I have been playing on and off together about 20 years. Obviously, Joel and I a little more than that. So, right. But All Over the Shop is a pretty new unit. Our first show we played in 2021. So,
wow. Okay.
So this is a pretty recent thing for us.
Did you play in other bands before this at all, or is this pretty much the first?
Yeah, Brandon. Well, Joel and I started a band. We had about a 15-year run in a band called the Prime Ministers, mostly in the aught, and Brandon kind of joined us midway through that, and then Joel kind of dropped in and out of that, and we had a succession of drummers after him, and then that band ended, and a few years went by, and I thought, it'd be really fun just as a creative challenge to just write a fresh, a completely new set. Let's try to get a set of music together, all, of original music.
Right.
So I started that, and, tried a few different lineups, and nothing was really clicking, and then so one day one of the guys that I've been working with couldn't make it, and I just said, I called Joel up and said, can you just come out and help us out for a song we're working on? And he came out and sat behind the kit, and of course it just sounded immediately a million times better. So we got most of the set going, and then the pandemic kind of ground everything to a halt in terms of shows, so we couldn't really play any shows, although we were still practicing. And then so nothing was really happening in 2020, so we thought, let's just go in the studio and do some recording. And so we took the best 5 songs that we had and recorded that, Temper Mill, and that's our first EP that came out in 2021.
With Dave Feeney, right?
Yes, with Dave. Cool. Yeah, fun. And then, so then we started playing shows after that. Stop me if I'm going on too long.
No, that's okay.
And Joel's tastes run a little heavier than mine, I would say, but I think our aim all along was to do something a little more rocking. Like the Prime Ministers, we were sort of in almost like a power pop vein, and which is music that I love and still love, but at the same time, my entire life I've also enjoyed hard rock a little bit, not death metal or thrash metal so much, but what they would call hair metal, and I still enjoy it. Listen to a ton of it, and I thought, we've got a drummer who's really good at this, and Brandon can certainly dip into that as well. So we pushed it a little more in that direction for this new EP that we have out called Every Ounce of Energy. So I think this is some of the heaviest stuff we've done, which is not even really heavy to some, but we could play at the Token and not get laughed off stage, I guess.
Oh, I'm sure. Speaking of which, so did you record both the EPs at the Temper Mill?
No, the first one was at the Temper Mill, and then for this one, I wanted to push it in a little heavier direction. You know, the joke was that I wanted to get Bob Rock to record it.
Oh yeah. It would be heavy for sure.
Yeah, I think he's mostly retired. So I came across this local band. I can mention other bands on here, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I hope they don't mind. This band called Midas. I don't know if you've heard of them. They play, I don't know if they're from Hamtramck. They play in Hamtramck a lot, and I thought that their album had a really, really great sound to it, and I learned that they recorded it at a place called Big Sky in Ann Arbor with Jeff Michael. So Jeff, who like ironically does a lot of power pop stuff out there, like a lot of the guys that we have played with, you know, back in those days, record out there too. But he made this really great, you know, really great rock record with Midas. So we went out there and said, you know, can you try to give us some of this magic too?
Yeah.
I don't think we, you know, went as heavy as those guys. Those guys have a really great like Judas Priest kind of style. Yeah. You know, we were going for more of like a, you know, cult, you know, Bob Rock, Sonic Temple type vibe.
Sure.
So, and I think we got there.
Who would you say, as far as your musical taste, as far as how you were, you know, wanting the band to sound, who would you say that people would have heard of possibly that influenced you the most to sound that way or to come off that way?
Well, you know, I think this time I kind of, you know, I've really appreciated the Def Leppard records that everyone knows, and just how melodic they are. How many, I mean, if you listen to a song from, you know, Pyromania or Hysteria, I mean, they have like, a song will have like 2 pre-choruses before they even get to the chorus.
Right.
It's just loaded with like very catchy, but you know, rock. I know some people like kind of diss Hysteria, but you know, it doesn't.
I love Hysteria. I love all their stuff. The only thing about Hysteria, of course, to me, that was different from everything they did before that. The 3 albums before that was it was very produced and had more of a sonic sound as far as it sounded like keyboards and stuff like that, which I think made it that much fresher in all. So how long did it take you to record like each of the EP? How long time in the studio?
Man, you know, we're on such like a budget that each one probably took 4 days. You know? 5 songs in 4 days, I think is pretty good. Yeah,
that's really good. Was there a reason behind just doing an EP as opposed to a full album? Did you not have enough material or just not enough time?
You know, I read a quote not too long ago that said, you know, bands on a budget can make documentaries, not feature films. So on one level, I'm like, okay, this is just a documentary. We're just trying to get a snapshot of what the song is, and hopefully it'll come across. But yeah, you know, I think it's a function of time and money, but also, you know, just not wanting to get. I mean, we made full lengths in the previous band, and sometimes they would just drag on, and it got a little less fun as it went on, if you ask me. And I would just get so sick of the material by the end of it that, in a way, I think just kind of keeping your aim modest and trying to, you know, get in and out pretty fast in 20 minutes. And I think it's maybe a little easier for the listener too. I mean, yeah, you know, you do have to cut songs, and that's hard, but you know, in kind of a perverse way, I kind of enjoy that too. Like we can only give people our really best stuff.
Were there any songs like for the first EP that you didn't end up using or didn't end up recording that went on the second EP, or were they more or less throwaway tracks, or were they any at all?
There were ones that we didn't use, and I mean, I still like them, but we didn't. No, we started over for this one. We always have more songs than we need, and I would just, you know, I feel like I have a pretty high standard for what I want to put out. So yeah, we're hard on ourselves that way.
Now, are you the key songwriter then, or do you guys more or less collaborate on it? Somebody come in with an idea and you work it out together?
I generally come in with a song pretty well worked out, like, you know, a rhythm guitar part and a vocal and lyric, but those guys just elevate everything. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I'll come in there feeling pretty good about something, and it's always so much better. I mean, Brandon had so much melody, and, you know, sometimes they'll take it in a different direction, and it's always good. I mean, you know, Joel just has so much, you know, power, and his drumming, you know, can change a song too. And it's, I mean, that's like what's the cliche people say? It's like Christmas morning, you know, when we have a practice night and get to work on the tune, and you know, you walk out of there with something really exciting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's the buzz. I mean, you know all about it, right?
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also sent me a video of a song you did that you recorded at the Token Lounge. Now, I hadn't seen too many bands that have recorded videos there. I mean, other than, live stuff that they did while performing. Now, how did you set that up? Was that something that you had always planned to do, or just come about by accident?
Well, it's funny. I thought they're never going to let us film the video in the Token Lounge without, charging us a bunch of money to rent it out or something. And so they own a place, a venue, I think it's called Downstairs at Joy Manor, which is right behind the Token Lounge, right?
Yeah, I live down the street from the Token.
Yeah, you're a West Side guy.
Yeah.
So the whole plan was to shoot it down there, and then I think the night that we were going to do it, they had an event going on upstairs. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll just kind of mime it quietly,
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, God love him, was like, he refused to compromise on the performance. He's like, I need to hit these drums hard.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. So very kindly, people at the Token said, nothing's going on at the Token that night. Just come in here. We just moved it over there. They gave us, they generously gave us some shots from the fog machine. We were off and running, and we did like 4 run-throughs in an hour, and that is the video.
Wow, because it came out really well. Did you guys actually shoot the video live, or were you lip syncing to it and playing to a tape? And how many cameras did you have running? Because this looked like a very professionally done video.
Hey, that's all credit to our photo video guy. His name is Merrick, but he goes by Mesgarth. So everyone should use him. Local bands. He's really great. He does a lot of concert photography for national acts and stuff too. But he did a great job. And then, well, it's funny you say that. I was lip syncing. My brother was playing full volume.
Yeah, it looked like he was. He looked like you all were. That's why I was wondering. You can fake it a little bit more with the instruments than you can with the drums.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. But at the same time, we grew up watching Kids Are All Right, the Who documentary, and boy, Keith Moon is like just clowning half the time. So I kind of thought, well, you're gonna get away with just a lighthearted drum take, but not this time. So
that was very cool.
I like the shots where the camera is on the drum riser and the camera is shaking from the force of the drums. So, and it kind of adds something.
Was there a reason why it was shot in black and white as opposed to color, or is that for cost reasons?
No. I don't even think we asked for it in black and white. I think that was an artistic choice.
Because that was very cool.
It came out great.
Speaking of which, I asked you earlier about who you think influenced the band or influenced your songwriting for the band. When I was listening to the piece, I did notice in the first one, I listened to them back to back, and the first one it started out a little bit more pop and mellow and stuff like that, but it was really cool, real catchy, and it kind of reminded me a little bit, the first few songs, of like Marshall Crenshaw. Then the more I listened to it and got into the rest of the first EP, and especially the second one, I listened to it, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting, it sounds like one of my favorite bands, and I had my wife listen to it too, and we both thought of the Smithereens. Are you familiar with the Smithereens?
Yeah, totally.
I thought, God, this reminds me of that kind of, because you mentioned, the power pop, and with a bit more of an edge, because the second one definitely has more of an edge as far as that. It sounds like something that would really come off cool live, really strong live. But the question I had for you about that, other than, me thinking it sounded a little bit like that, and I mean that as a compliment, by the way, is there was some, obviously some dubbed guitar parts in that. Now, how do you guys adjust and deal with that live?
Well, you know what? It does sound a little different. It's not, the recording is a little more, it has more guitars going on than when we play live. Originally, when we started, especially that first EP, I was very much like, nope, we're just going to have one guitar on this and keep it very true to the live sound. And Dave, I think at the temperament, was like,
Right.
This might sound good with the rhythm guitar track on there, and I'm totally fine with there being like a little bit different sound live.
Right.
I think that's cool when you go see a band and it sounds a little different. Brandon does a great job of filling it out, and he's rearranged some of his parts so we can pull everything off live, and we're cranked up pretty loud too, so I don't think it's underwhelming. But I just
wondered if you'd ever considered, especially after the second EP, of adding adding a second guitar player.
You know, I have thought about that, but man, at the same time, well, you've been in bands. Getting 3 people together to practice is hard enough.
Yeah, and the chemistry, of course. Yeah.
Can't even imagine dealing with a 4th schedule.
Yeah, that's true. Now, you said you're originally from Rochester Hills, is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, is that where the band is out of? Is that where you guys are out of now?
You know, we're kind of spread out a little bit now. No one lives in Rochester. When we first got together, we were practicing in an old dentist's office in Roseville.
Oh, wow.
Which was pretty cool. And because I wanted a little bit of an East Side vibe to the band anyway. And,
yeah.
You know, to me, that's the home of the Ritz and,
yeah, of course.
You know, all those great record stores and stuff. So I was stoked about that. But we're practicing in Troy now, so, you know.
At a rehearsal hall or somebody's house?
In a house.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more of a suburban vibe now. But we're all suburban guys. We can't really front.
No, that's very cool. And where are some of the? I know you said you guys more or less got this going in 2021 after the pandemic, and you know, rehearsing and whatnot during it. Where are some of the clubs that you had played or have been playing?
We've played at Bolero in Royal Oak. We played the Caju Cafe. They've been very cool to us. We just played our first show at the Old Miami. That was really great. We had a great night there. Yeah, we played the Token. You know, we got an opening slot.
Nothing wrong with that. That's actually the best slots nowadays because people don't stay as late.
Yeah. It was fun. You know, we did the old setup, your drums in front of like 2 other drum sets.
Right.
Yeah. So you know, I think we've done a few other shows. We played in Lansing a little bit. So yeah, and we've got some stuff coming up later this year that we're working on putting together. So
where is that going to be at? Where are you planning on playing? I can come see you guys.
It's going to be in Bolero again, and in Royal Oak, and hopefully in Lansing.
Now, do you guys go out and bowl during your sets, between the sets?
No. I have to save every ounce of energy for the show. That's what the EP title is all about. Actually, the EP title is a Seeger reference.
Right.
We're big classic rock radio.
I imagine you guys are a little older. I'm 62. Are you in that range at all?
We're still in our 40s.
Oh, good for you. You got plenty of time.
But we certainly appreciate all the greats that came before and the rich history around here. So that seemed appropriate when I heard that line one night. I was driving around and Turn the Page came on, and I thought that'd be a good.
Now, some of these shows you've done, at Bolero and the cafe and all that. What other bands have you played with, and how difficult or easy is it to get shows at some of those places? Maybe there's some bands that are listening and trying to get started.
It takes a lot of work. It's hard. There's people plan out months in advance. You gotta obviously work with their schedules, and you gotta wait on people to get back to you, and you gotta get other bands who want to play with you, and then they cancel for whatever reason, and you got to find another band, and it's keeping us real busy.
Are there other local bands that you've played with that you think fit well with your style or with your audience?
I would love to play with that band Midas that I was telling you about. There's a band called Dirty Copper that I really like. Their singer Rob Day writes really great songs. Brandon, our guitar player, is in a couple other bands. Paul Einhouse Arrest and Tuberous Bush Cricket.
Oh, wait a minute. He's in the Paul Einhouse Arrest. I know Paul from the Happy Accidents and the Static Alphabet. I used to work with Paul back in the day, and he was one of my guests and all that. So he plays, what does he play again? Is he the drummer?
Well, he's our guitarist, and he plays bass with Paul.
Small world, because I love their band. I love his stuff. Paul's a great guy, a great lyricist also.
Yes,
and,
his most recent record, Solid Tin Coyote, is fantastic.
Like I said, I interviewed him a while back and stuff. It was a lot of fun. He actually came to my house. I don't normally do that. I normally do him all over the phone. He insisted on coming out because I hadn't seen him in a number of years. So the other thing I was going to ask you about, is there any significance whatsoever to the name of the band? I mean, how did you come with that? I was describing the music to a buddy of mine, actually my producer director, and I said to him, I gave him the name of the band, and he couldn't quite tell how you guys would have come up with that. Was there any significance or background with that?
Okay, so I was reading online, I was on a music message board, and the topic being discussed was Led Zeppelin's set at Live Aid. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, and someone from the UK made this comment, Jimmy was really all over the shop that day.
Wow.
I looked it up, and it's a little bit of UK slang that means like they were very disorganized or in a chaotic state.
Oh, geez,
and I thought, that's hilarious. I love this. So then when we named the band that, then I'm like, okay, well, we can go like visually down this like whole shop route a little bit, you know, and so I bought like the blue shop coat stuff that I wear the band, and you know, we used a lot of like workplace safety, you know, logos and stuff, and some of our early flyers and stuff. It kind of gave us a little bit of visuals to play with. So yeah, it's, you know, it's not a very, I think people have a hard time remembering the name all over the shop, but at the same time, you know, I was so amused by it. And,
no, it's cool now that you know the background of it. But yeah, at first it's like you said, because so many bands, they have like one-word names or two words, and you know, it's not too common unless it's like somebody and the something or something, you know. So no, I thought that was kind of interesting, but now I really think it's interesting based on what you told me. Yeah, I'm a huge Zeppelin fan. And I
went back and watched the Live Aid set again recently, and I thought it wasn't so bad. I don't know. What did you think?
No, I knew all about it. There was a lot of sloppiness. There was a lot of like kind of last minute things going on with Phil Collins and all that. So I know that Page always been a little high strung as far as that. He's not quite as laid back as Robert Plant. So I knew there was some issues with that, and I think that's part of the reason why their set was as short as it was too. A lot of the other bands had a little longer sets than they did.
It's a little unfair to judge them like, you know, judge it as a historical document. I think the spirit of it was to, you know, raise money that day, and
good.
I thought it would be a little bit of fun, and not so terrible. But I think it's not even included on like the DVD set, right?
Right.
But luckily for us, there's YouTube.
Yeah, and of course they did that live performance a few years back and stuff where they got all together with Jason Bonham, which was really cool. That was an incredible performance.
Yeah.
So it's good that bands like that can still do it. I'm still hoping maybe one day those guys can get back together again before another one of them dies, but probably not. Anyway, are there certain favorites of yours, I mean, song-wise, on the two albums? Ones that, you know, you had the most fun playing, the most fun recording, come off better than the others, maybe live, anything like that?
I really like the song Tongue-Tied from the first EP, and I kind of feel like that set us up for the second one a little bit.
Because it started getting a little heavier.
Yeah. So I think that was, you know, a little stepping stone. I mean, I tend to like the songs that go through the most change and like arrive at a place that I would never have gotten to on my own. You know, Rainy Downtown, I think, grew a lot from what I, you know, walked in with. You know, Love Is Taken Over did too. I mean, there's a song called Another Night that I love
that one. I mean, I love them all, to be honest with you, but Another Night, I really love the hook on that. How you're talking about more or less like that's a story for another night, and then you didn't spell it quite, you know, correctly and stuff, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it's got kind of like that Kiss guitar riff, and it's got that little like David Lee Roth type like breakdown talking, and that's, you know, something that, you know, anytime I can push myself out of my comfort zone, I'm proud of, usually, even when other people don't like it.
Right. No, it was very cool. They're all very catchy and stuff. They got a cool edge to them. Like I say, I mentioned the Smithereens because they had that power pop, because that's immediately kind of what I was thinking of. It's more of a power pop thing with a bit more of a modern edge, which I think is great.
Ed Stasium would have been a good producer for this too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
He had that kind of like heaviness, but, you know, still in the very melodic school.
What kind of gear do you use? I mean, what kind of bass rig and bass guitar do you have?
Oh man, I use an old Ampeg. What's the word? Stack, I guess.
Real old school.
Well, it's because we bought it like forever ago and used it in the old band, and I have not invested in anything else.
Don't need to if it's Ampeg.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I play Squire bass, which is like, I'm sort of like amused at.
Are you serious? A Fender Squire?
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm a bass player too. I play bass and keyboards and lead vocals, and that was the bass I used. I had a red Squire bass. I hot rodded it a little bit, but the reason I liked it so much was it was a bit short scale. I'm a little I don't know if yours is or not or whatever, but great feel to those basses. And of course, it was a lot of, people laughing at me about it. My drummer, as a matter of fact, wanted to crack it over my head. He goes, "You need to get a real bass. You need to get a Fender Peer." I'm like, "No, this is comfortable for me and stuff." And I love the action.
Yeah, I have never been like a real gearhead. I would rather put money toward, the next recording. That's the fun for me, The great thing, I played guitar for many years, and I love the simplicity of the bass.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've been, waiting for all this time. So, Brandon, uses an array of guitars. I think he actually showed up the first day of recording in Ann Arbor with a Carvin or something that he had just bought.
Wow.
And we were like, okay, and it sounded just amazing. I think it was a Carvin. I could be getting that wrong, but whatever it was, I think we ended up using it on most of the EP. So we kind of indulged that side of we let it go a little more rock.
Did you guys before you went in the studio? Obviously you had the material worked out. Did you have some demos that you went in there with, like to Dave, and said, "This is the basics of what we are. Maybe develop this a little bit more"? Was there any demos that you made, or is it basement demos?
Yeah, we do. We have gotten into demoing pretty much everything just to work it out in advance, like you said, and just go in there knowing exactly what we want. And we didn't play them for Jeff, who recorded this. We just played the songs, and it was great because he really helped with arrangements and just made everything a lot better. And it's hard not to get demoitis, right?
Right.
Love what we have, but at the same time, I think when someone improves something, it's pretty obvious.
Well, that's what's great too, because that was the other thing I was going to ask you. Did on either album, I know most people say that these guys mostly are engineers or not producers. Did either of them have like ideas for you as to maybe something to change or something to tweak as far as what you're doing, or do they all just go with the flow more or less?
I think, my experience is that, people don't come in with a lot of suggestions right away.
Right.
But, once I start asking for suggestions, then I think, over the 4 days, they realize that we're really hungry for their input. And, I would love to do, proper like pre-production with someone one time. But yeah, having an extra set of ears is just so valuable. And, every time I think to myself, we don't need to go into a studio, or we don't need someone else to work on this. I mean, every time that someone feels good about giving suggestions, or they realize that we really want their input, it just usually makes for such much better final product.
Well, yeah, it's a little less subjective as far as they may, like you said, see something or hear something that you're like, well, oh wow, I hadn't thought of that. That's a really cool idea. Yeah, let's do that. Even if it's something slight as far as the tonality or what,
Yeah, and this time, Jeff, who recorded us, he simplified a lot of stuff, and that was what we wanted. Making it more direct is generally better. Like you said, there's a lot more guitars on the recordings than we have live. But even so, I don't think it's too much. I don't think we didn't have time to get too crazy. Right.
Now, how long did it take you to record the second EP? You said 4 days in the first one. How long in the second?
It was about. Well, the first one we did more piecemeal because I think we had a couple COVID problems and we missed a couple dates here and there. But yeah, the first one they were both about 4 days. We go in there pretty buttoned up, which, it is one way to do it. I've recorded stuff in the past where we took it a little slower and learned stuff in the studio, and that also can give a freshness to things that, how it is with the band. Sometimes the first time you play it together is the best time, right?
Sure.
It'd be really great to make a record like, the big guys do, and, write and arrange it all in the studio and get that really great third take or whatever. But
well, it's amazing to me, especially as good as the recordings are, how you can pull something off in 4 days. Whereas, like you said, some of these other, big national acts and stuff, they'll take a year or so to record it. They take months to record one guitar track, and you guys can pull that off. And I know it's because of the urgency of the time and, of course, the money, and you have to really go in there, like you say, prepared. Were there any worries at all as far as that you wouldn't get it? Were you ultimately happy with the product that came out? And how long did it take to actually mix and master the records?
I'm very happy with how they came out. There's obviously things that I would, change or, keep refining if we had more time. But, for the scope and the budget, yeah, I think I'm very pleased with them. Mixing, I don't think mixing took very long. Jeff would email us mixes. We didn't sit there and mix with him. And that went very quickly. And Jim Kissling did a great job mastering. I think we, needed like one tweak on one of the songs or something.
Now, did you press these in any way for a release? Because, like I said, I heard them off of Spotify. Are they available in hard copy on CDs or anything like that?
No, and it makes me sad because I'm a real CD guy still to this day. Mm-hmm. But nope, we travel pretty light to our shows. We don't really have merch. The music is online if people want to listen to it. I'm jealous of other bands who press up vinyl and stuff.
Yeah, but it's expensive though.
Not in our budget.
Now, are there any immediate plans for maybe another release? Another album down the line? The last one was done a little while back. Anything in the works?
We're always working on new songs. I'm sure in a few years there will be something else. We're still having fun. Getting practice night is a big night for me. I really look forward to it.
Right.
At the same time, I know, I got to bring something in there for us to work on. So that's always, that's what keeps me working on music.
You still have some new ideas, some new songs that you're working on that maybe, you aren't performing yet or aren't ready to record?
We haven't worked them up with the band yet. I have some songs that I need to bring into the band when we get some time. But at the same time, I know recording's probably a few years off, so I'm almost, right. I'm like, we don't need to get sick of these songs and playing them for 2 years before we go back in. And it's, it's very interesting that I think each thing we do is a little different, and sometimes it takes a little time to sort of find the next direction. Although I'm happy with the style we've landed on, so maybe we'll just kind of keep it in this vein. I was talking to my friend the other day about like when did reinventing yourself become like the gold standard for everyone? Everyone loves artists who are always reinventing themselves. Why is that such a plus?
Well, one of the bands you mentioned were famous for that. Led Zeppelin. Every album was a different album, that's what made them so great, I think. But then again, there's something to be said about having a certain path, AC/DC, the same album, for 50 years or whatever. And that's cool too. But you gotta find out, what fits you the best and the best chemistry for the band. It just really seems like you've grown into that on these two releases. They sound, you can't say enough about them. They're very catchy, and I'm kind of disappointed they're not available in any other way. Other than on Spotify, are they available on any other platform?
You can always purchase them online and burn them to a CD for your car, I guess.
But are they on Apple or on Amazon?
Yeah,
music?
they're on all the streaming services, and they're on Bandcamp for download too.
Right, that's cool.
Yeah, so I really just enjoy building up a little discography. That's all I've ever really wanted out of playing music. It's been fun to me to grow the catalog a little bit every few years and work with different people in different studios and get different sounds. And at the end of the day, I think we're probably enjoying it more than anyone listening to it. As Brandon says, if we can't enjoy it, he's talking about other people who don't listen to the music they make. He's like, if we can't enjoy it, what is the point?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you gotta love what you do, otherwise it isn't worth doing. Anyway, this is Jimmy Jive, and you've been listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest has been Todd Wicks. His band, All Over the Shop, has 2 incredible EPs that you can check out on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, and the such. And I really suggest you check it out because it's really good stuff. Anyway, as I like to say, keep rocking.